Good afternoon, all of you. So, do you know the common thing between people who you can see on your screen? Mahatma Gandhi, Bhagat Singh, Cristiano Ronaldo, Muhammad Ali, Richard Branson, Jeff Bezos, you name it. Let me tell you what's common. Two things. One is they all changed the world in a way that it cannot be undone. And second, they had more people hating them than people loving them. Right? So how did they become successful? What made them successful? What made these people create their own revolutions even when so many people hated them, trolled them in the new world, had a negative opinion of them, right? So today I'm going to break down all of the mindsets of these revolutionary people into 3 key learnings that I followed in my life to change my own life. First learning, stop waiting for people to accept you. Right? I'll repeat that again. Stop waiting for people to accept you. And I'll tell you a story about my life to show you how I did that. I grew up in a very service class, middle class, small town family in a place called Hisar in Haryana. Right? And I was growing up, I had only one goal, folks. And that is to get a good education and get a great job. And I got that too. Right out of my engineering, I got great placement offers that I was supposed to go and join. But life had other plans. So as I was waiting between the period when my final exams got over and I had to go and join this company, I had a few months with me, right? And I very casually bumped into a friend who seemed to have a very interesting idea to start a business. And he was hell-bent on starting the business with me, right? And as I explored that space, we dug deep, we refined that idea and started building. We actually felt we were onto something, right? And to utter complete disappointment of all the people around me who had a clear, pre-decided idea of how they wanted my life to be, I decided to start that business instead of joining that job. And in a few moments, when I communicated this, suddenly everyone who I loved, who was close to me, suddenly became my enemy. Right? For them, I was told that I do not have the permission to take this decision because of my situation. Right? I was told I'm irresponsible, mean, and also completely out of bounds for taking this decision by myself. Right? I anyway chose to do that. But how my life transpired after that was I felt that everyone around me was secretly rooting for me to fail big time. Right? And it's not a pretty space. Right? For a 21, 22-year-old guy who's just starting to do something they haven't done ever, it's a tough space to be in when people don't support you. So what happened? Were they right? Yes and no. Yes, because that first business actually did fail. But no, because if I had not failed in that business, none of my successes would have followed. So in a sense, they were right about what I was doing, but not right about me. So, it takes me to a different space when I talk about that story, because I am so grateful to every cell of my being to not fall for that acceptance, to not keep waiting for it, because all the successes I've had in my life after that, the single most important reason for that was that first failure that I got, right? And if you want to do something which you find worthwhile, something big enough, and you're waiting for people to accept you, let me tell you, it's not happening. So stop looking for it. Stop waiting for people to give you permission and be okay with what decisions you have made in your life. Second learning. Change your relationship with discomfort. To explain this, again, let me take you back to my childhood. Like I said, I grew up in a very small town, in a police family, very middle class mindsets. So an incident that shapes that story in my life is when I was 3 years old, my dad and I met with a road accident. And unfortunately, he lost his life and I lived to tell the story. And living in that, even before that, let me just explain that persona to you, right? Very larger than life. So think a Singham like top cop and merge it with a Harvey Specter like lawyer. That was the kind of persona that my dad had, right? And we used to live in this police housing complex where everybody who used to live around us was either his mentee or a friend or a student or somebody who admired him. What did that mean? That meant that everyone had tremendously big expectations of me. Everybody wanted me to be intelligent like him, dynamic like him, and responsible like him. So my little feet had very big shoes to fill in, and with a very hard-working single mom and 2 elder sisters, I was supposed to be the man of the house, ASAP. And since I didn't know much, I just played along. But guess what happened? When I was in 9th standard, roughly 14 years old, I scored very poorly in my exams. And I was told by my teachers to ask my parents to come and visit them. And guys, I was scared to my bones. And why was I scared, right? So in this moment I had 2 choices. Either to face this discomfort of disappointing my mother who is working so hard for us and tell that this has happened, or to not tell anyone and just keep it to myself. And I took that choice. I took that choice to do the latter. I chose to avoid telling anyone, and the result of that was that I stopped going to school for 3 years without telling anyone. Right? What does that mean for a young kid? One, although I can talk about it now very freely, powerfully, unemotionally, but in that moment, I was so scared as a child, right? I would typically just go out of the house when everyone was gone and do different things and come back when nobody was there at home. Of course, after 3 years of doing that, I realized that life cannot continue like this. The long-term costs that I have attached to this life are way too big. So I chose to confront the truth and go back to school. Right? And it wasn't easy. Now I'm back in school, and people who are now my batchmates are younger siblings of my batchmates from earlier. And these buggers did not leave any chance to bully me, to shame me, or to put me into an uncomfortable position at their pleasure. But I stuck through. Another instance what I had to deal with was I had to actually go back and read concepts from 3 years back just to be at par with my peers. Right? But a guy who did not know what basic mathematical formula of what an a plus b whole square is, to then be able to topping my city for all core marks and getting into the top engineering colleges in the country, that was a journey for me. And I realized what exactly changed during that process. And something very fundamental had happened, which was that I had changed my relationship to discomfort. What was earlier an enemy that I wanted to avoid had become a friend because it was growing me every single day. So my focus moved from my pain to my growth. Right? And I'm just a very small example in this space. If you look at people who were there on the screen earlier, any of these people, if you span through history and look at their life, you will find that anybody who has tried to do something has had to change their relationship to discomfort. So if you want to rise up to the next level of your own potential, change your relationship to discomfort. My third learning. So this was the biggest one, and it is trust yourself and back yourself. So once I had changed my relationship to discomfort, when I had learned that I don't want to wait for acceptance from others, I still felt that there was something missing. And what was missing was the trust that I had lost in myself. Right? So on the surface, my life looked like this, which I will just explain. Think of this as my right decisions and my wrong decisions. Right? Things that I associated to successes and failures. And at that point, at that juncture of my life, most of it was failures. Right? So what did I do? My whole purpose became to avoid failures, which is to avoid making mistakes, which translates into avoid making decisions, which means my success rate went down and my failure rate went up. It was a vicious cycle, right? Because once you start doing that, it feeds into even more lack of trust in yourself. And this is until one day, one of my mentors sat me down and said, "Hey Varun, you invest." And I think in order to avoid making mistakes, you have stopped playing big. And would you ever bet anything, whether it's money, energy, resources, on a guy you don't trust? And that hit me really hard. Let's just say I started backing myself again. I stepped into the ring of my own life as I like to see it and believe it. And when I started taking decisions, did my decision making become better? With time, yes. Right? So which meant that all the decisions that I was taking now, they were more successes than failures. Right? And it started looking like this, what you see on the screen. And some of those successes were multi-million-dollar exits. Some of those successes were working with large corporations and doing some amazing work with them. It was building a global business of my own. It was also launching some great brands in the country. Right? It was opening schools from underprivileged students. And it was getting a chance to work with the best minds in the country. Right? And as I continue to do that today, what we are doing now at Stockgrow, the organization I represent now, is we are trying to create a platform for young people like yourselves, where we are making it absolutely easy and risk-free for young people across the world to learn investing. Right? Giving them the confidence and giving them a growth trajectory that they can take in their life and build something of their own. Right? And it's not just the impact. Millions of people from tens of thousands of schools, colleges and other educational institutions are using this platform. We are one of the fastest growing startups in the country at this point of time, and will be in the world as well in due time. Thank you. So fundamentally, these are the 3 learnings that I used, and that's how somebody becomes something special. That's how normal people do revolutionary things, and that's how very simple people solve complex problems. But wait, you remember I asked you what makes all these people very special? How in the face of so much of negativity, so much of rejection, were they able to do what they did and build their revolution? What was their secret? So their secret was they chose the story that they tell themselves. Folks, the story that we tell ourselves is a sum total of the values we have, the beliefs we have, what do we think about the world, what we believe we can do in it, everything around it. It governs every little choice that we take every single day, absolutely unknowingly. right? And the 3 learnings that we discussed will help you to see yourselves, your own story clearly, have the courage to rewrite it, and also give you the strength to start the revolution with yourself, right? So I challenge you to change your own narrative of life and see what revolution, that you want to create, right? And it won't be easy, but guess what? Anything worthwhile really is. Thank you so much.